It is not uncommon in clinical practice to see an MR angio like this. The carotid artery on the right side is completely absent. Middle cerebral artery also is not seen well, but the patient has only very minor stroke symptoms. A transient weakness of the left upper and lower limb, which improved and had one more episode, but not much of residual weakness. What to do? So this is the clinical situation. What to do in such a situation? What further investigations can throw more information on this? Carotid chronic total occlusion is a clinical problem, and I'll be sharing how digital subtraction angiography helps in further evaluation and understanding the disease process. The idea of doing DSA in such a patient with CTO is twofold. One, we already know that the carotid is occluded. So the idea is to find out as much as possible what is the pathology of, is it a CTO or it's a near total occlusion. So sometimes what is seen as CTO in MR might actually be a very tight carotid stenosis with very trickle flow, which can be actually opened up, revascularized. The second question we are trying to find an answer is, how is the blood reaching the MCA territory? Obviously through some pathway, blood is reaching the MCA territory. Otherwise he would have suffered a massive stroke. So essentially, there are few pathways in which when carotid is occluded, blood reaches the MCA territory. The first pathway is the ECA-ICA bypass, anastomosis. So from the external carotid artery, which connects to the ophthalmic artery, retrogradely fills the internal carotid artery and the MCA territory. Pathway number one. Pathway number two is through the circle of Willis. So either through PCOM, through the vertebral artery, by a reversal of flow, fills the MCA territory, or third through the anterior communicating artery, so through the circle of Willis. And third is through the pile collaterals. From the anterior cerebral artery through the pile collaterals fills the MCA territory, or from the posterior cerebral artery fills the MCA territory. So the essential idea of doing a DSA is to find out which are the pathways through which blood is reaching the MCA territory, which gives quite a lot of understanding regarding the pathophysiology as well as ideas regarding how to manage the patient. We always start the angiogram with a femoral angio to see whether the femoral puncture is safe. The femoral angiogram is okay. Right carotid angiogram. This is the right common carotid angiogram. This is the external carotid angiogram, which is quite large because the internal carotid angiogram is occluded. So in ICA, internal carotid angiogram, there is a occlusion which is a tapering occlusion. So this previously we all used to think that any tapering occlusion is a dissection, but this is not a dissection. Whenever there is an occlusion distal, in the distal part of the internal carotid artery, which has to be proximal to the ophthalmic. So that means there is no way in which blood can or contrast can flow distally into the carotid artery. The whole artery will collapse, and that will be seen as a collapsed artery, which looks like a flame-shaped occlusion. So this only means that there is a distal occlusion which is before the ophthalmic artery. So we don't get actually not much of information. Only what we can understand is the carotid artery is totally occluded, internal carotid artery is occluded. There might be an occlusion somewhere down the line in the cervical or the petrous or distal, but usually it has to be before the ophthalmic. So otherwise it would have shown that the contrast is flowing into the ophthalmic. Now looking at the external carotid artery, this is external carotid artery, and this is the occipital artery, and this is the maxillary artery, external carotid artery dividing into two. This is the superficial temporal artery which goes and supplies the superficial scalp area, and this is the maxillary artery. The internal maxillary artery goes and supplies this area, and this is the middle meningeal artery, which is of importance to us. The middle meningeal artery in this situation is very large. So that means this is supplying some area which would have been normally supplied by the internal carotid artery. So if you look at the middle meningeal artery, so you can see that the middle meningeal artery is quite large. It divides into a posterior branch and an anterior branch. But there is another branch which is coming very significantly from here. Let's see where it goes. So that branch is actually going and supplying the area, this is a choroid blush, the retinal blush. So that means that the middle meningeal artery, this branch which is quite enlarged, is supplying the retina. So that is why he has not suffered a loss of vision, even though the patient has got a carotid occlusion. So instead of the ophthalmic artery supplying the retina, this branch of the middle meningeal artery is supplying the retina. You can see the choroid blush very clearly from here. You can see the choroid blush very clearly from here. Again, the choroid blush can be seen. You can see the choroid blush. Now the left vertebral, so that's enough now. So the other thing what we have to understand is, in these pictures which are there is no retrograde filling through the ophthalmic which is filling the MCA territory. So that means the ECA, ICA collaterals are not working or helping this patient. It is only supplying antegradely into the ophthalmic artery, into the retina, and not retrogradely into the internal carotid artery. Left vertebral artery shows vertebral basilar is okay. There is a large pica, there is an ICA. This is the superior cerebellar artery, and this is the posterior cerebral artery. These are the thalamoperforate branches. But what is striking is there is no posterior communicating artery also. That means the posterior communicating artery should have come straight like this and filling the MCA. So the circle of Willis is incomplete. The posterior communicating artery is not there. Now let us have look at the further runs of the vertebral angio. So here you can see the superior cerebellar artery. There is a small narrowing here. This is the posterior cerebral artery. There is a small narrowing here, suggesting that there is a little bit of ICAD in this patient. Here also there is narrowing. There is narrowing. Two anterior inferior cerebellar arteries which are quite large, and one posterior inferior cerebellar artery. So on this side, on the left side, the posterior cerebral artery is supplying only the occipital territory. But when you come to the right side, so you see, in the follow-up angiograms, you see that the pial collaterals are supplying the MCA territory also. You can see it in the subsequent runs of the vertebral artery angiogram. You can see that the MCA territory also is getting filled by the pial collaterals. That means the terminal branches of the posterior cerebral artery is supplying blood to the pial branches of the MCA territory. See that? So nature always finds way to supply an area which is become ischemic. Even when one vessel is occluded, the nature finds its own way of augmenting the supply into that area. Left carotid angiogram looks normal. There is no carotid stenosis. The carotid is quite normal. Now let's have a look at how the left carotid artery is supplying the blood into the right side. So you can see that this is the internal carotid artery, middle cerebral artery on the left side, the inferior division, superior division, lenticular striate branches, A1 of the anterior cerebral artery. This anterior cerebral A1 is supplying the anterior cerebral artery on both sides. You can see two. So that's why, suppose if this is occluded, both the ACS will get infarcted, resulting in paraplegia. Now you see that there is a very, very hypoplastic A1 on this side, which is actually filling blood into the MCA territory. So this is how here the ACOM is present. A1 is small. That is why if the A1 was quite large, he wouldn't have suffered even a minor symptom. This A1 is quite small. That is why he has suffered symptoms. So look at that. And we will go back to the angio and see how the MCA territory is filling on this side. Further, you can see that the MCA territory is getting filled up. The ACA territory, pial collaterals also is chipping in to supply blood to the MCA territory. So the MCA territory, so blood is coming in this situation. What we understand is the ECA, ICA collaterals are not there. The posterior cerebral pial collaterals are supplying the posterior part of the MCA territory. The ACOM through A1 is supplying blood into the contralateral to the right side MCA territory and filling. The PCOM is not there, so the circle of Willis is incomplete. So that is why he has only the pial collaterals from the posterior cerebral, the pial collaterals from the anterior cerebral, and the ACOM which is there. So these are the three pathways in which blood is reaching the MCA territory. The two other pathways, which is the PCOM as well as the ECA to ICA collaterals, are absent. That is the reason why he has become symptomatic. Now we'll finish the angio by doing ephemeral angio again to see whether there's any damage. It is normal. We'll shift the patient out. Now we'll look at the images, MR images. MR images actually is a post-mortem. You look at the damage that has been created by this abnormality for the carotid occlusion. So you look here, this is the classical string of pearl appearance. Between the superficial and the deep territory, you have multiple small infarcts, suggesting that this is a hemodynamic event. And you see few dots here between the MCA and the PCA territory, again suggesting that this is a border zone infarct. So you have border zone infarcts of varying timeline. This is black, this is white. So some new infarcts are there, some old infarcts are there in the deep watershed territory as well as the external watershed territory between the MCA and the PCA. So how do you manage this patient? So that is the crux of the question. So the information what we have got is he is not that symptomatic. He has only minimal symptoms. So there is no indication for revascularizing this internal carotid artery. You have to augment the supply into the MCA territory by one, keeping the blood pressure marginally on the higher level, because any episode of hypotension will produce a hemodynamic stroke. He may not suffer a major stroke, but he will have symptoms. Number two, put them on dual antiplatelet medication. As of now, there is no evidence of a branch occlusion in this. So there is right now there is no role for anticoagulation. But suppose if the patient has one more symptom and you do a repeat MR shows a new infarct in a branch is getting occluded. That means in this territory, which in the MCA territory, embolic events are happening, then you can probably consider anticoagulation. The third method is hemorheological management. That means to increase the viscosity, to reduce the viscosity. That is, if the hemoglobin is high, reduce the hemoglobin by venesection, advise them to take plenty of fluids, then high dose atorvastatin. Because one of the main pathway is through the A1 on this side, which is very small in size. So you don't want that A1 to get occluded. So the two options is dual antiplatelet, high dose atorvastatin, hemorheological management, and hypertensive management. Keep the BP marginally on the higher level. And suppose in the future again he becomes symptomatic again and again, that means the collaterals are failing. In such a situation, revascularization surgeries like an ST-MCA bypass surgery might be considered in the future, but that has to be done only when there is an adequate demand or he becomes symptomatic again and again. Doing it early will not help because the ST-MCA bypass definitely will close off if there is no adequate demand. Thank you.